The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the podcast belong solely to the hosts and not the host's past, present, or future employers. Brian, breaking down security, listening to the podcast. Got some news this week that we're going to talk about. There's been a lot made about some various Okta issues that have happened. Depending on, if you've been under a rock for the last couple days, Okta's been breached like 4 times in the last year and a half. This is so Wired had a good article about that. Now I don't want to subscribe. Yeah. Oh, Chris now. Okay. So let me see. So yeah, Okta has had a breach, if you will. And they say it's been 200 of its clients. And they say repeated incidents of the... Okay. One second. So I'm going to have a better link to this because I'm not a fan of Wired doing what it is they did. Okta breached. I could use 12-foot or something, but it's just one of those things. Dark reading. Here we go. I saw it because it was a 1Password thing. I have 1Password set up in Feedly to let me know when 1Password discussions pop up, and because it's what I use for password locker, and I was, after all the LastPass stuff, I was like, well, it might be good to have something letting me know that there's something going on in 1Password land. And so this, I actually saw the dark reading article before I saw the other one. I just haven't pulled it up in my Feedly yet. And it says, Okta's IAM platform finds itself in cyber attacker sites once again. Threat actors mount a supply chain attack against Okta's customer support engagements. If you remember, the last time Okta was breached, which I'm assuming they have some information on the timelines of those, October 2nd. I believe there was another one in like January. So several of these supply chain issues. And this is not the first time that Okta has been hit by a third party through their a bad actor through a third party. Apologies. And so they say, let me see what happened. September 29th, password management company observed suspicious activity within the Okta instance that it uses for managing its employee-facing apps, according to a company statement. Activity was quickly terminated. And while it didn't detail the extent of the infestation into the employee apps, it did say no other user or employee data or other sensitive systems were compromised. And they say there may be more victims coming as of Friday, which was I don't know why I don't have a calendar anymore on Windows. I believe it was the 6th. Okay. It was the 20th of September or October. They say more might be coming. They wrote on Friday. Okta wrote on Friday. It's informed other potentially affected customers. Okta is, everybody's like, yes, let's all use MFA. Let's all use, I've used Okta for years at other organizations, and it was very seamless. It worked fairly well. I think the fact that it's got a lot of see, there you go. It's got a lot of market share, makes it a very tasty target. The third parties, put trust in Okta because, it's supposed to be the new wave of authentication, right? You've got your phone, you log into something. If you're using the push function, you get a little thing, goes boop, boop, and you go into your phone, you just press, yes, that's me, for Okta, and then you get in. The fact that you can, get in through a third party, it's not a good thing. I think we'll continue to see stuff like this, and unfortunately, it sounds like 1Password the internal stuff was hit. Their internal organization was hit, and the employee facing apps is interesting because it's not what was hit. It's not what it didn't hit 1Password directly. It hit the things that the 1Password employees use. So we may see more fallout from that as we go on. And thankfully, it sounds like 1Password has some detection mechanisms in place to isolate that quickly. So they're good on their IR team for addressing that. And yeah, so the article in Dark Reading mentions MGM and Caesar's Palace ransomware incidents was a subversion of Okta's agent via social engineering, leading to a deep infection of those casinos. And let me post a link up in our chat here, and these will be in the show notes as well. Alpha or ALF-V and Black Cat ransomware operators. So yeah, they use their leak site to set the record straight about MGM Resorts attacks. So this is when we talked about it. It took like 10 minutes from IT help desk, basically, is what we heard, to get access. So MGM made the hasty decision to shut down each and every one of their Okta Sync servers after learning that we had been lurking in their Okta agent servers, sniffing passwords of people whose passwords couldn't be cracked from their domain controller hash dumps. The result in their Okta being completely out, right? So we're seeing follow-on attacks from earlier Okta-related attacks, and so these folks are biding their time. They're making it. I mean, this is precisely the playbook of a bad actor. You're gonna bide your time. You're gonna find juicy targets. You're gonna attack as you see fit. You're gonna decide which makes sense. MGM and them. They must have paid, so they've got some money to continue funding their operation. That's also Scattered Spider, for those of you who are unaware. So yeah, it's not been a good year for Okta. Should you? I guess the question a lot of people are like, what should we do about Okta? Is it still something you should use? Probably. I think you should probably add more monitoring on it to ensure that it's being reviewed. I mean, it's not not to call it a silver bullet or to use those vernaculars, but it's software and it is obviously hackable, whether it be directly through Okta or their third parties or your third parties. Anybody who uses that stuff, you could be a target. So you might want to ask your vendors, if they're using a second party, what they're doing to protect themselves, or what are they doing to protect against recent issues with that. So let me see. Oh yeah, this was a good write up. This is a blog post with a hey, let's buy our product kind of thing. So apologies, it's from Heimdall Security. You can go and read this up. They have a quick write-up about the data breach that happened for an energy company. Hey, Beta Wolf, what's up? So BHI Energy, which is an energy services company linked to Westinghouse Electric, they had a cyber attack that took place May 30th, 2023. And so this write-up is a discussion. Let me see what they say. This is a data breach notice sent by the company, which is BHI. There's some audio bits here as well. Threat actor initially accessed BHI system using stolen VPN credentials from a third-party contractor. That third party's contractor account reached internal BHI networks through a VPN connection. And The week following initial access, they used the same compromised account to perform data reconnaissance. Over subsequent weeks, so it wasn't known immediately that the VPN credentials were stolen. So the third party either didn't know or didn't report it. The bad actor used the credentials inside to perform reconnaissance. So they were enumerating the data, file servers, all kinds of stuff. They began staging data and ultimately extracted 767,000 files totaling 690 gigabytes, including a copy of BHI's Active Directory database. So somehow they enumerated all of this stuff, and they say staging data. My guess is, well, I'm hoping this is not the case, that they found a nice fat drive somewhere that was empty. And when I'm hoping what they mean by staging data is they had a checklist of places to exfil the data from, and they have a script that they ran that pulled all that data. It would be even worse if it was like, oh, well, we had a couple terabytes drive sitting over here that wasn't being used, and they had all that big fat file blob copied into that spot, and then they just tarred it up and sent it out. That would be terrible bad. The threat actor, the third party contractor, they somehow managed to pivot and get access to the Active Directory database. So they must have found some way, or found some other passwords or some other accounts inside BHI's network to elevate to system admin, or to whatever amounts for root in this case. Then they say they encrypted all the accessible files with the Akira ransomware on June 29th. And that was the moment that the IT team recognized the breach. So they traipsed around inside this network for how long would they say? May 30th to June 29th, for a whole month. Were not found until the ransomware let off. That's not good. I don't know why. Maybe IT team, maybe they were doing things that didn't raise any kind of panic. Maybe the third party contractor, I don't know what kind of third party contractor. It could be customer support. It could be, maybe it's the MSSP, which is like, okay, maybe they needed to get access in there. So it's interesting. So they have a security notice on that site as well. So don't read past the point where they talk about let me see, when they start talking about product addressing ransomware with Heimdall EDR, you can turn that off. That's the sales pitch. So they managed to get names, birth dates, social security numbers, and health-related information. So they must have gotten access to the HR database in some case. I'm not sure why BHI, which is an energy services company, would have health-related information. Social security numbers, names, and birth dates are usually collected in HR databases. They've also confirmed the names and addresses of nearly 900 Iowa residents who were affected. They said, as of now, there's no evidence the Akira Group shared BHI's data on the dark web. Oh, and they have 2 years of identity theft protection. Beta Wolf, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your doggy going to the vet. That sucks. Yeah, this hack. This is the kind of stuff that we're going to see on like the Verizon data breach report. It's crazy how the same things we've talked about over and over again still being used to hack companies. Well, so we talk about it because we're security. Do the IT people? I mean, I don't know what IT people do for like keeping aware of things or news or whatever. Where a lot of what I do here is preaching to the choir. We're preaching to security people. I don't know how to get this in the hands of people like IT, because I don't know if security or IT people need to have, certifications that require them to be knowledgeable about security stuff, or, how they go about doing that. But yeah, we've talked about it numerous times and the Verizon data breach report is a prime example of examples where they come up and go, oh, they were I guess the only good thing is it only took them a month to, find them, but they only found them when it was the oh shit moment, right? When it was, hey, they're all up in our, all up in our base owning us, that kind of thing. So it does feel like, I want to say that they had backups. Yeah, the company managed to restore their compromised systems using unaffected cloud backups, avoiding the need to pay a ransom. So that's a positive, right? Here's a bleeping computer article about the same thing here. Yeah, I mean, so in a rare display of transparency, U.S. energy firm details how Kira ransomware, Kira threat using stolen VPN credentials, threat actor reach. Yeah, I don't. So in the following initial access, so they gained some kind of persistence, or they just continue to use the same compromised account over and over again. Having stolen all the data they could from BHI's network. So basically, this is a complete dump of their entire network. Then they ransomware the files, and they immediately informed law enforcement, engaged with external experts to help them recover impacted systems. The threat actor's foothold on BHI's network was removed on July 7th. Oh, so it took them an additional, 8 days to remove them from the network at that point? June 29th to July 7th. So 8 more days to figure out how it happened and to remove them from the network. Or at least remove their access, being the VPN account. So it took them 8 days of analyzing with an external party to get them out of the network. So additionally, they bolstered their measures by imposing MFA, God, let's hope it's not Okta, on VPN access, performing a global password reset, extending their deployment of EDR and AV tools. So it sounds like they didn't have 100% coverage across their network, either due to cost or, it was one of those things, hey, we're going to do that next year. We finally got the budget, huzzah, and EDR and AV tools, covering all segments of their environment and decommissioning legacy systems. Oh, that's interesting. Why would they decommission legacy systems? They have a third party with VPN credentials that needed to have apparently unfettered access to the network, and they also had legacy systems on the network. That is interesting. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Bleeping Computer mentions decommissioning legacy system. I think that was probably in the data breach notification that they were talking about. It just seems odd that they would decommission legacy systems unless there was maybe that's where they gained their persistence. Maybe they had some old XP boxes or 7 boxes or 10 boxes on the network. Yeah. And the fact that I think the big thing is they had backups, right? They were able to restore from backup, so they didn't have to pay the ransom. So, hey, good on them. Good on them not having to worry about the ransomware stuff, but bad on them for not seeing that. Or maybe they just didn't have good detection mechanisms. I don't want to say bad on them for that. Maybe they're overworked. Maybe they don't have the necessary kit to notice that, but now they'll have more visibility into their environment with their EDR. Maybe they'll change the way they're working with third parties to reduce the access for the VPN. The VPN access. I did a CISSP bootcamp a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about extranets and intranets and VPN connections and how everything should be set up according to, those things. Did those vendors need access to that stuff? I don't know. That's why I was like, decommissioning the legacy systems. Maybe the third party vendor needed those access to that. Or, maybe it was a trusted vendor. So maybe they're reevaluating the relationship there. So, ransomware isn't going away. The problem is only getting worse. And this is an article sponsored by probably somebody who makes ransomware software to protect against ransomware. So, so according to Malwarebytes, global ransomware attacks witnessed a boost in 2023, 1,900 ransomware attacks against 4 different countries, US, Germany, France, and the UK in 1 year. Ransomware attacks have become more costly. Cybersecurity Ventures predicts by 2031, which is less than 10 years away, a ransomware attack will occur every 2 seconds. Boy, that's not very positive. How many companies could there be where you're having a ransomware attack? This is one of those ones where people are just pulling random numbers out their ass, and nobody's going to remember this in 2031. Yeah, these are the fun predictions that you can just say, well, Brian from Breaking Down Security, guesses in 2029 we're going to have no more ransomware attacks and the world will save $800 Brazilian every year. Nobody's going to remember me saying that, and it'll never come true. So, there's that. Is ransomware focused on big organizations? Most recorded ransomware attacks target big orgs. This is no longer the case. Yeah, we've seen this for years. They're targeting schools. They're targeting places they know don't have good or dedicated IT or security services. Schools, small, medium businesses, government buildings, local county governments, hospitals. Hospitals have good IT and good security, but under the guise of we're saving lives, they you have to make concessions, right? We're saving lives. Okay, great, but when you don't do what's necessary and you're owned up left, right, and center, you're not going to save any lives at that point, or you're going to be very, very much impacted. So, well, come back in August, come back in 2031, and we'll find out if ransomware attacks are occurring every 2 seconds and costing the world $265 billion US in losses annually. We'll see if that's a legit number or not. They say ransomware gangs are using more advanced techniques to infect their targets. Well, that's not necessarily the case with the U.S. energy firm we saw. They just, hit up a third party with a crap password or a crap account and no two-factor auth. I don't know if two-factor auth would have solved this problem. It would have made it more difficult, but would not have necessarily solved the problem. One of the problems that I saw with two-factor auth implementations is you get a lot of false positives. So if your computer's logged in or something with VPN, you might get more than one hit. I know that's probably gotten better in the last few years. But yeah, it would be, I had several times when we were rolling out Okta at a couple of other companies where I would get multiple authentications a day. And it got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm not going to answer that. And I'm just going to let it go. Because that's how you do it. It's alert fatigue, right? At some point, people are going to get fed up and they're like, okay, yes, just stop sending me these messages. And then, that person's gotten in or they bypassed it. So outsourcing initial access to IT, target IT to outsourcing initial access to target IT environments to access brokers to gain access to target networks through phishing, exploit kits, or stolen creds so they can deploy their ransomware. Exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities in target security controls and applications to gain access using legitimate pen testing tools such as Cobalt Strike to deliver payloads or Bloodhound, or they won't deliver payloads with Bloodhound, but they'll use those tools when they get in to be able to do things, or Mimikatz or what have you. Compromising websites using them to distribute exploit kits to site visitors, which allow attackers to exploit vulnerabilities in visitors, web browsers, and operating systems. Yeah, I wish there was a better way. These are the only reason there may be more ransomware attacks. I don't want to believe that it's it won't happen to us kind of thing, because who would want to, the people, there cannot be, and I don't know, there cannot be there, because there still are. There are people and companies that are like, that won't happen to us. Every day that we don't get hit is one more day that we're saving $300,000 by not, deploying X technologies. And we'll worry about that next year. That's, other budgetary problems involved. We've got to push out this product, that kind of thing. So it's only until that becomes to the fore that you have to start worrying about these things. And usually by then it's worse. Wow, sounds like my company, or every single company ever. Yes, well, you're right. And I think I hate to use a physical example of this, but I remember way back in 2006. 2006? Yeah, some of you weren't born then. Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. And one thing you heard during hey, why did this F up so badly and flood, New Orleans? They had known for years that the levee system there was completely busted, or would not support, a Category 5 hurricane of that type. And they just didn't have the money to fix it, right? And they were like, well, we never, we were hoping to fix it eventually. And constant, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. And yeah, Beta Wolf, you like that? I got lower thirds, bruh. Look at that. Yeah. So I'm sorry for those of you on the audio podcast. I mentioned before the start of the show here that I figured out how to put some lower thirds on my my Twitch stream. So yeah, I got fancy right there with the flying potato on their Beta Wolf. Just trying to do some things to make it look a little more professional there. Got my background. I've got got my icon up in the corner. That kind of stuff. So, yeah. Oh, and you can if you want to enjoy your earballs with your eyeballs, enjoying my face as well as discussing things. You can go to twitch.tv/breaksec, or you can join our YouTube channel and catch up on regular videos that I do by myself, with the Sunday nights being Miss Berlin, Mr. Betcher. But we have other things that I do, including Rust and those kinds of, we learn Rust. Beta Wolf. So, the funny thing, Beta Wolf, I had been doing illegal simulcasting. Apparently it was against terms of service for Twitch, but I just saw that they're going to be allowing people to simulcast or multi-stream. They call it multi-stream. I call it simulcast. Multi-stream to other platforms like YouTube and those. They have some provisos, like you can't make it a worse experience on Twitch than you do YouTube. You're not supposed to combine your chat dialogues together. So if you've got Twitch and YouTube chat and some kind of bot, they don't want you doing that, which is easy enough to get around. I mean, I just have another window up for YouTube chat, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to see them doing that. I think they're worried that some of their bigger names who stream on Twitch are going to leave them for something called Kick. So yeah, and the idea is you can't give them a lesser experience on Twitch than you did YouTube. So if you're doing some kind of special thing on YouTube that isn't available on Twitch, they're like, yeah, no, you can't do that. Again, I have ones of viewers, so I'm not overly worried that if I was like, oh, go over and watch the VODs on YouTube. If you want to subscribe over there, I'll give you, on Patreon, I'll give you a link to the VODs unlisted, and, you'll be able to watch the VODs before they're available. That kind of stuff is, if you subscribe on Twitch for $5, or you subscribe on the Patreon for $5, you'll get access to the VODs. So we just want to make sure everybody who watches them on YouTube can get that too. So, all right, let's go see what else is going on. I promised everybody I would post this up on audio. I'm learning DaVinci Resolve as well, so part of the thing I want to do is do some training. So for those of you on the audio podcast, if you want to get some input to us on how to do something or training on certain things, I'd love to make some training that I can do some edits inside of, and then, maybe sell that training. So I was thinking about a CISSP boot camp, which I just did chapters 2 and 4 out of the CBK. Thought about maybe adding additional modules for, module 1 through module 8. And that way, if you have your CISSP, then you can use those for CPEs. If you don't have your CISSP and you're studying, maybe you can use that information to study for the exam. So, okay, cool. Just keeping up on work stuff. The thing that kept me from working yesterday, I was just getting that updated. So, all right. Let me see what's next. I think we'll do one more, and then I'll close it out for the audio podcast. That way people can still have a little bit of something, and, I can continue making haha jokes for the Twitch people who show up and check out the VOD. So, Conti successor Akira, still, everybody's all up on that. So, cool. Okay, so ransomware group that breached Capcom, the video game company, in 2020 have been caught by international police. In 2020, a ransomware group broke into Capcom server. Capcom, for us oldsters, Mega Man, and was it Street Fighter? No, it was I don't play the fighting games. I only know them from Resident Evil. Yeah, they had the Resident Evil series. Let me see what else. Yep, Mega Man or Rockman for those of you who under Street Fighter. I'm sorry, Street Fighter, not the other one. So yeah, the Street Fighter series, Monster Hunter. Yeah, good stuff. I never played any of those because I got old and never got a chance to check those out. But yeah, Mega Man, awesome. I loved Mega Man. I actually have the ROMs for those that I can play them because I legitimately bought the video games. So anyway, the ransomware group breached Capcom, was caught. The Europol, which is European police. Thank you, Beta Wolf. No, it's all good. Europol posted apprehension of a key player in the Ragnar Locker ransomware group in a press release on its website this week. The arrest was made with involvement in investigation from authorities of 11 countries. Wow. Saw the suspect detained in Paris while a home in Chechnya? No, Czechia. I don't think that's spelled right. No. Oh. The Czech Republic. Okay, so it's the Czech Republic. I don't know how to pronounce Czechia. Oh, I apologize to all the people in the Czech Republic. I'm just going to call it Czech Republic because that's what I can say. So the action carried out between 16 and 20 October, conducted in, Czech Republic, Spain, and Latvia. No, Beta Wolf, not Chia. No, that's, no, bad. No. The key target of this malicious ransomware strain was arrested in Paris. Wow. And his home in Czech Republic was searched. 5 suspects were interviewed in Spain and Latvia the following days. The end of the action week, the main perpetrator, suspected of being a developer of the Ragnar Group, was brought in front of the examining magistrates of the Paris Judicial Court. Okay. Wow. Hundreds of thousands of files were stolen from Capcom's data servers, contained employee and customer names, addresses, and other sensitive data. Group then threatened to sell or expose Capcom if they didn't deliver millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Despite this, Capcom described the dangers of a breach as minimal and did not pay, instead working with various international authorities to identify the perpetrators. Wow. So it only took 3 years of investigation, but they managed to find the bad guys, bad people that did it. So across Spain, Latvia, Czech Republic, and in Paris. So that must have been that's why Europol had to do it. It would have been a jurisdictional nightmare. So it's good Europol got involved there. So very cool. 3 sectors that resist economic downturn. 3 cybersecurity sectors that resist economic downturns. I would love to see more people getting hired. I'm being told by more than one person that it's pretty much dog eat dog out there. It's, there's no rhyme or reason why you're not being applied. I've seen that AI is doing all of the vetting right now of HR stuff, that people are wanting unicorns, and something's got to give. Either we're wanting people and the job descriptions are just being fed to the AI. You'd think the AI would be smart enough to go, hey, maybe you've got too many things, or maybe the AI, like most recruiters, just don't care and they're just going to try to keep looking for things. I have seen a couple posts, and I don't prescribe to them, but any edge you can get, there are things out there or blog posts out there talking about how you can defeat the AI doing potential resume searches to get yourself noticed. I don't condone that, but I'm also currently gainfully employed. Should that change, my viewpoint on that might change as well. So the three cybersecurity sectors that are resisting the economic downturn. They're saying identity and access management, obviously. Apologies. Risk and compliance. Okay, so GRC. You're always going to need GRC. Incident response and threat intelligence. Okay, I could see, I understand all 3 of those very well, especially considering the 2 stories that we talked about and the prediction that there'll be 2 ransomwares a ransomware every 2 seconds, in 2031. Risk and compliance is not going to go away. Governments and industry, are always going to have compliance requirements, and they're adding to them. COPPA in the state of California for privacy purposes. There's always going to be more compliance requirements coming, and people still use the specter of GDPR as being a problem. I have yet to see it being a massive issue. Even though we do see stories about, Google was fined $4 billion or something. That's why they have lawyers, and they will negotiate that down over years. So, we've seen a lot of breaches where it ends up being like $70 million for a data breach, but the company makes billions of dollars a quarter. So $70 million is not a lot for a company that makes billions of dollars a year. Again, data breaches don't really affect companies like people think it affects companies. And of course, identity and access management. We talked about Okta. We've talked about biometrics. We've talked about facial recognition. There's always going to be a need for that. The problem is the jobs need to fit that. I don't know what a base level risk and compliance person looks like, but I still say IT is a good place to get in if you can get into IT. But even then, I'm seeing people telling me that IT is not a panacea where it's like, hey, being help desk or getting in there. So I'm going to see more of a reliance on certs and degrees and stuff. Every job description I see requires a degree or a cert or both. And to tell you the truth, that's one reason I got my CISP. That's one reason I got my degree. That's one reason I got other certs, because I kept seeing job descriptions where it was like, must have a CISP, must have a degree, must have this, must have that. I don't have 12 years of experience equivalent to that, but I do have my degrees. Yes, Beta Wolf. You and I completely agree. The degrees, um, in some cases, I won't say so useless, but I will say that they are. Depends on where you get them from, I guess. It depends on how much work you put into it. I mean, I have a BS from University of Phoenix from 2008. I have a 3.5 GPA. Not that anybody gives a shit, but I can say I have a degree in CS, EE, or equivalent. Right? I have a bachelor's in an equivalent technology degree. I got the CISP. Um, yeah, I got the degree. I got the degree when I was still in San Diego because I figured it would take me further. Degree is what you make of it, regardless of where you get it from. Right? Yeah. Um, yeah. And you know, it is what it is, and there's going to be folks that are going to rail against that stuff. But you, I can say I have a CISSP. I'm handcuffed to it, even though I don't like the organization. But it's one less thing I have to worry about when I'm looking at a job description because I have those things. And it takes time and it takes effort. It took me a good 6 months to study for my CISP. It took me 3 years to get my bachelor's, um, only because they took military credit from the Navy. Yeah, I there are folks out there right now that are hunting and hurting for a job. They've burned through all their money, and I can only help so much. And it's actually a bit of a stressor for me right now because it's like, well, are we, what are you doing when you listen to this podcast? What are you doing to help somebody who you know is out of a job? Are you introducing them to people? Are you in the same circles as them? Uh, have you been on a Discord or Slack where somebody's like, "Hey, I don't have any more savings. We're going to be evicted at the end of the month." How many of you have reached out to those folks and said, "Hey, you know what? We're hiring. We're we're looking for somebody. It's not $180,000 a year, but it's going to it's going to keep your lights on. It's going to keep you from being out on the street. It's going to keep you from being evicted." I think some of us who are in a privileged position of having a job and know that we have legitimate jobs in our companies, um, reach out to those folks if you see them struggling or you see them, needing a position. Um, Unfortunately, it's like the return to office stuff is still ugly, and unless your company plans on relocation bonuses or anything like that, there's still going to be some issues there. Um, but yeah, I do what you can to help, even if it's, hey, I know what you're going through. I had this problem myself. I was out for about a year, or hey, I know a guy, or hey, would you like to go to we have a meetup, or there's meetups online. Have you tried those? Uh, just talking with them and engaging with them and know that they know that somebody's looking out for them, or at least helping them, with ideas would probably go a long way to that. Yeah, that's my little rant for the week. Unfortunately, I'm not feeling like I'm doing a very good job with helping people find positions. I keep posting them up in LinkedIn, but I don't know if the companies are just posting them up to make it look like they're actually hiring, or these jobs are flagged internally. I just don't understand. So I always make friends with recruiters I personally find to be enjoyable to deal with and work with them, and then take those new people and have them work together. Yeah, I've actually forwarded on emails that I've gotten from folks saying, "Hey, we have a security position or something like that." And I was like, "Look, I'm not interested in it, but I have a friend who is. I'm going to forward his information." Recruiters love that shit because that's like that's manna from heaven for them. Somebody who's willing to forward their, yeah, I don't, I don't forward the ones that are hot garbage, or, are not even a security job because they saw something specific about my work history. But if, I see something on LinkedIn or I see something in an email that is even a contract job these days, I'm like, yeah, here's a 6 month position as a security admin or security PM or something like that, I will forward it on to people because it may not work for me, but it may be right up that person's alley. Um, the problem is the companies that are lying, saying, "Hey, yeah, we're remote," when remote is really, "Hey, you really need to be in the office 5 days a week." If they're using remote as a way of getting people, and it's like, "Oh, well, once we tell them it's 5 days a week, they'll capitulate and they'll come in." There's some people that just won't, and we won't pay relocation. You're just gonna have to move on your own dime to go to, Minot, North Dakota, or some shit like that from where you live. And it's companies need to be upfront about that shit. If you want the old way of working where everybody has to have an ass in a seat, and you're taking Bob's lunch out of the refrigerator, and the water cooler talk is still legitimately a water cooler, I guess, yeah. But anyway, all right. So this ends the part of the audio podcast. Hope everyone's had a great day. Mr. Betcher can be found on LinkedIn. So look him up, Boettcher, Boettcher.